Devaraj, thank you for joining us here to talk about the changes in alcohol shipping rules that happened here during the pandemic. First off, what are the big things that you've seen happening?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks very much, Tim, for inviting me on here. It's been definitely an interesting 18 months or so, and there are a number of major shifts that we've been seeing, but all of it has been towards increasing at-home consumption. So rest New York City now, you now are looking at these establishments that have been really heard they can now send cocktails with takeout. Washington State has just approved August through July. Kentucky is now starting to allow distillers to ship D2C. And it's one of those long-ranging consequences that could change the bourbon market forever. Probably the big, the Taft decision, over 100 years ago. So there's a lot of movement. And the bottom line is that, regulators, which we have a tremendous amount of respect for, have started to look at what changes they can make, and loosening potentially is a word you can use, potentially not. But the rules of alcohol beverage are starting to change, and access during the shutdown is obviously important to everybody, because at the end of the day, right, like everyone wants to make sure that the end consumer still has the capability of enjoying that that alcohol beverage responsibly. End results, we're giving alcohol brands more avenues and helping them connect brand customers. And so, Thirstie, in its small way, is trying to help the smaller brands, those larger brands, and on-premise and off-premise, all sort of recover, right? With the right with the right speed, and obviously being very cautious of what the regulatory environment can maintain and hold, not just now, but in the future.
And do you think that some of these rules that have been loosened up, you think that's going to continue even after we come out of the pandemic, when regulators see that this is not causing big problems for them? Do you think we're going to continue a continued trend towards this liberalization direction?
Yeah, you know what? It is tough to predict the regulations and how they'll evolve, but the only thing we can predict is that regulations are going to change, right? And so, the way I would probably put it is that we can kind of go back to prohibition, and the one constant is that government and regulations are going to, in a measured way, respond, and they're going to be very much a part of the ongoing dialogue, going to be involved, and they're going to dictate policy. And Thirstie wants to be a business that stands that and is very pro-regulation. And that's another reason why we're so focused on providing, what we believe is an agile in-market solution for brands. And also, right, we talked about this a little bit, having that expansive retail network throughout the country. As we know, every state is different. And in some states like Texas, every county is different. And there's always going to be a lot to navigate in order for brands to stay compliant. However, there are high-profile cases that are working through their way through the courts, and they hinge on very complex issues, like clarifying in what jurisdiction an online transaction occurs. So we take that. We obviously need to make sure we build these rules into our software engine. But Thirstie's worked extremely hard, and we're dedicated to this mission. We're dedicating also significant resources, and have worked and have conversations with regulators in many markets. And the reason there, Kim, is to make sure that our platform can continue to be as compliant as regulations evolve. Have we gotten everything correct? The answer is maybe not fully, right? But that's something that we're 100% committed to, right? At the founder level, as well as the executive leadership level. Our investors also are committed to that. And there are some shortcuts that smaller players are starting to take, and potentially not shipping in the most compliant of ways. But, we just want to stay laser focused on what we're doing. And again, we're spending a lot of resources just making sure that we have a highly compliant solution that not just a smaller brand, not just a large publicly traded brand, but also, right, like the close to 50,000 other independents that have fabulous liquid. But the democratization of our industry is important for me and Max, my co-founder, to ensure that these smaller brands have the ability to be able to have compliance and to sell their products in a highly compliant way. And to maybe answer your question more directly, it's anybody's guess whether the market will continue to liberalize or maybe retract a little bit where it was 18 months ago. Thirstie, we're prepared for both ends of the spectrum or both extremes, and everything in between. And our advice to all the brands that we speak to is to do the same, right? To listen to the market, make sure that you're looking at compliance in a real way, because it's important. And there's a reason why the 3-tier system exists. There's a reason why we respect it, and there's a reason why, right? This system, from our perspective, is going to evolve, but it's going to evolve slowly, and we'll be there to embrace whatever changes regulators make.
I think it's really interesting how Thirstie helps brands maintain control of their brand and the experience for consumers while selling through the 3-tier channel. Can you just explain to us how that works with the Thirstie model for brands?
Yeah, so as far as the consumers and how they respond, or just the overall how a use case.
Yeah, how the Thirstie platform solution gives brands control in the 3-tier channel.
Yeah, sure. So essentially, the way that the platform works is we are a fully white labeled solution, and what that means is that if you were going to go to any of our brand partners, whether it be the Macallan, whether it be Sun Goddess wines, whether it be Oliver Lane whiskey, right? So I'm giving you sort of like a range of different opportunities across categories, across size. The user experience is to ensure that the brand controls the journey, and when I say that, right, there is no direction when a consumer of, let's say, the Macallan goes to a product detail page. And is quite literally bounced out to another third-party technology platform or to a retailer site. The entire experience is contained within a fabric of that Macallan experience. And that's important, not just the Macallan, but any brand, right? End to end, the user is interacting with the brand that they know and love. And there's a storytelling that can take place, not just for larger brands, for the smaller independents as well, to be able to tell that story. And number two, and we don't talk about this probably nearly as much as we should, is the data and the analytics and the business intelligence that we supply back to our buyers. Now, this is par for the course for traditional CPG, whether you want to understand consumer behavior and ship a product from A to B, whether that be a pair of glasses or a pair of sneakers. A controlled substance getting from A to B, highly regulated industry, is very different. I would argue that potentially, layering on 20x, right? We talk about interstate shipping, you talk about tax calculations, you talk about payment processing, and doing that in a compliant way. But from the user experience, Kim, what I would say is that a consumer is interacting with the brand that they know, they love, going to be able to get different experiences because of that close relationship with the brand. And then on the brand side, the brand is going to be able to understand all of the data and analytics on that consumer, right? Thirstie is a non-licensed third-party software and data business. And we have off-the-shelf dashboards from our mid-sized brands. We have data feeds for our larger brands. We have a dedicated data and analytics and engineering team to continue to develop these products. So, one example would be for a brand to be able to understand the campaign analytics attribution. Did my consumer initially see this ad and this product? Was it a Google search word or a search ad? Was it an Instagram ad? Was it a YouTube ad? Was it a Facebook campaign? All next to the behavioral analytics, what was that consumer, potential consumer, customer mind, what were they actually searching for, right? With the whiskey example, was it a 10-year, a 12-year, a 15-year, special reserve? And then the holy grail for our industry is the shopping cart analytics. Would a brand now be able to see that, Kim, you ordered 5 items, and there were 5 items to 5 different individuals across the United States, and they all were gifts. That's incredibly important information for a supplier to have. And then also, maybe I would to also use another example of, you also purchased 3 products. They were the identical products in the last 3 months. That kind of indicates to me that you are an aficionado or believer in this product. Maybe we can invite you to a special event. Maybe we can give you something of something else, and the brand can have that direct conversation with you, right? So you do have obviously, right, the email addresses, right, that Thirstie is collecting, and provide that back to the brands in a highly compliant, PCI compliant manner. So that again, right, it's a conversation that the brand can have directly with you to continue to build customer loyalty and make sure that you have the experience that other CPG interactions already are having, right? Like Nike with their customers, for example. So data and analytics, and it's the uninterrupted superior customer journey is what I would say are the 2 major value drivers for what we're doing today.
Yeah, and I imagine that both retailers and distributors would appreciate this help from the brand to get pushed through the channel. I would like to go back to the regulations and the pandemic and see what you've seen for brands' reactions to these changes and consumers' reactions. Do you have any examples of brands that have been good at taking advantage of this or seen changes in behavior that you can share?
No, that's a great question. So maybe I'll the brands first, and then maybe get to the consumers. But I unfortunately can't get into too many of the specifics without violating the non-disclosures that we have in place. But brands that Thirstie works with, who have the most success and are using Thirstie's data solutions, that's the key, right? To get a much clearer picture of what their consumers look like. And additionally, brands who are effectively marketing, right, the 2-hour delivery functionality provided in specific markets. So those are a couple of things, right? Thirstie offers a number of different delivery methods, ranging from this 2-hour delivery to a scheduled window. What does that mean? That means that there's a 2-hour window over a course of the next 3 to 4 days. And then obviously also have a mail order through common courier. And we had a brand recently, they had the data to understand what their consumers look like. They put geo-targeted ads in Los Angeles, Miami, New York City, and essentially the message was start Memorial Day right. Get your favorite tequila in 2 hours before the long weekend. They had the highest conversion rates ever on ads in their checkouts. So brands using geo-targeted advertising and telling their consumers, get your favorite bottle and get it today via Thirstie Access, as you can manage, right? As you imagine, right? That's had tremendous success and continues to have success. And like I said, by saying Thirstie and other of our brand partners, they've also run some pretty successful limited edition programs for brands across categories. So for example, what does that mean, right? Including, let's say, signed or autographed products and limited time offers for numbered series of bottles. We partnered with a celebrity brand. They offered autographed bottles for sale. And we sold 2,000 bottles in an hour and generated over $60,000 in retail sales. So we're partnering with another brand, and they also did a limited edition release of a particular bottle size. And by offering this limited edition offering, they sold over $40,000 in retail sales in under a week. So you can see, right, like this close association with Thirstie can provide, right, for a brand that is interested in embracing their customers and providing them something that can't be provided with a third-party platform or from a retailer. There are real tangible results. And maybe more importantly, right, these brands that I just talked, they collected tens of thousands of emails from customers interested in their new releases and their product offerings. So the data part of that, cannot be ignored, right? This is data they own, and they can have a direct conversation with the folks that have actually ordered. So the impact of this limited edition offering wasn't just sales, it was growing their community of interested consumers and connecting to their loyalty to the brand, which is, I think at the end of the day, is the most important thing for any brand of any. So to answer your question, some of the most successful programs we've seen have been using the 2-hour free window that Thirstie offers to customers for their favorite products and fast, right? offering limited edition, limited time offers to consumers. They potentially products they can't get anywhere else. So hopefully that's helpful. Now you asked me, I think it was the question was about consumers, right? And how that impacts them. So, and then back to the rules, right? Like, so it's hard to say whether the consumer's response is all tied to the new rules or the shutdown, the pandemic, or both. What we can tell you is that what we see is all about the data. And the data and information we see significant growth across the board. So March of last year, I think all of us saw, right, like about 240% growth in online sales. And this is not my stat. I think it might have been 243%, like Nielsen, right? And at Thirstie, our jump was even higher. Our brands are seeing sales growth of anywhere between 500 and 700%. I think that the last standing was around 600, so right in the middle. And these were numbers that we projected. We just didn't have them projected until 2023, 2024, and 2020. So your question, right, around how have customers responded, our perspective, very positive. And consumers like this convenience, consumers like the optionality, and that's what e-commerce provides. And that's what states that are starting to adjust their rules and regulations are also providing. So the entire ecosystem is rolling with the punches, and it's I guess another way to maybe phrase it is, it's Blockbuster versus Netflix. Sure, a customer may go to your liquor store and hope you have the product on your shelf. But if given the choice, a customer in today's market is always going to prefer being able to go online, order exactly what they want, and have it delivered in 2 hours. And that's what Thirstie and Thirstie's brand partners are providing to their customers. And so a little bit more, our brands, we're talking right now about consumers. It's about the connection. Brands are looking for any opportunity they can to have a better connection with their customers. So the new rules allow for this expansion of e-commerce solution for alcohol brands, certainly. And for brands, again, it's like for consumers, it's been extremely positive. And the more access they have to their customers and to the data, the better they feel and the more understanding they have for the wants and feel of the customer, right? And the brand Thirstie works with, they have most of their success. Again, 2 things. It's all about the data and analytics, and it's all about getting to have a situation where they're getting the product at the cadence of their choice. The reality is that not every brand wants to have a product in their customers' hands in 2 hours, right? There is scarcity, and there is something to say about that for different brands. But what Thirstie provides is that optionality. 2-hour delivery, a 2-hour window over 3-4 days. And if you're okay and you're on vacation and you're ordering a special bottle, you're absolutely getting it in 6 to 7 days.
We all saw the big spike, obviously, right at the beginning of the pandemic and continued growth through the pandemic. This year, we've started reopening. What do you guys' numbers look like? Are we dropping? Are we slowing growth? People going back to just walking down the street to the store? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so things are staying relatively constant. I think that there are some question marks around, and listen, I'm a massive believer of on-premise. I miss it dearly. We're starting to venture out. I still think that there is some trepidation, from a consumer's perspective of, is there going to be another strain? I am tired. I don't want to wear my mask. I have been double vaxxed, but at the same time, right, I have trepidation. So the numbers have come down slightly, not much. I think that the shift is here to stay, and this is not just my belief. It's talking the CEOs and board members of this point, right? Thirstie Access, we've signed up 200 new customers in just 16 months. So the demand is off the charts. But talking to these CEOs, and the CEOs range, right, from the 5-person company, to the 1,000-person company, and the CEOs there all have the same perspective of this unfortunate pandemic did have a silver lining where it jump-started e-commerce to a place where other CPG brands have been enjoying 15% digital penetration. And from my estimation, right, there's only two categories that don't enjoy that same amount of digital penetration. One is automotive, second is beverage, right? And so, you have moves by companies like Carvana, right? That's trying to handle that. Max and I have been singularly focused on seeing how we can change consumer behavior. And we recognize that this doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take years to change consumer behavior to a point where we're ordering everything online from branded storefronts. My wife and I would never imagine 15 years ago that we would be ordering everything from the likes of an Amazon or an Instacart, right, or Fresh Direct in Europe. So this has been an interesting shift. It has changed we believe, the category forever. Now, is it going to 99 to 1%, off-premise versus on? Clearly not. But that traditional, from a revenue perspective of it being 50-50, I think is clearly also in our rear view. Whether it lands on 75-25, 70-30, I don't know. But the understanding now for consumer is that alcohol e-commerce is a thing. We've seen some tremendous activity, right? From an acquisition perspective, as well as from a financing perspective, with the likes of friend Corey over at Drizzly, Aaron over at 750, good folks at Vivino. That the sector has changed forever. And what we're trying to do is to make sure that we're dated on our customer, which is the supplier, and providing solutions for them. Also providing a valuable experience, not just for them and their teams to grow their businesses, but also for their end consumers by having this branded experience. So things are changing. I think that they will continue to change, but the pandemic has definitely moved alcohol, beverage, and the viability of e-commerce probably accelerated by at least 5, maybe 10 years.
Thank you, Devaraj. I appreciate you coming here and talking to us about this. You have a great day. Thank you for your time.
You got it. It was really a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting us, Kim.